Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tackle Shop Live.
A sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream?
What's up, WB? How you doing, buddy? Good talking with you today on the phone. Halen, how are you, pal? Good to see you again. Chris Fettinger, how are you, Chris? Mike Hayer, what's up, Hayer? What, man? That's awesome. Who's else is here? Joseph Cascarino. Charlie Esterly, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Johnny Kopp, how are you, John? Ed Ranowski, always good to see you, buddy. Conway Hayden's in the house. Mark. What up, Mark? Yeah, Richie Martinelli. Good to see you guys, man. Jerry Otto's here. I want to stop in tomorrow. Charlie, that'd be great to see you, man. Absolutely. Appreciate that very much. Man, oh man, we got a great show for you tonight. George and I had a busy weekend and a busy week. Of course we went fishing. You know that. We went down and we fished the Conowingo pool for the first Conowingo Open Series on the Conowingo pool. And had a great time down there. We didn't practice for that tournament. We haven't been down there in a year, but we went down and did our thing and ended up, I think, in 11th place. Had 12-4. Pretty happy with that. Just couldn't get that big bite. We had one little one we couldn't get rid of, but we had a good time, man. George and I, we fished really well together and didn't miss any fish. Didn't lose anything. So we fished real clean. Just didn't have that spot where those big ones moved to. And we spent the whole time kind of looking for them. And we're going to go over that tonight. We're going to go over, breaking down a body of water, for either a pre-fish or for just a fun day out in the water to see what's going on, to see what the fish are doing. So we're going to go into that, breaking down the body of water. We had actually a comment from somebody after last week when we asked everybody to send in their suggestions on a show, and we got a couple for sure. And we're definitely going to use them. We're going to use one tonight, and then next week, or possibly the following week, but hopefully next week we're going to do another one on tackle storage. If we can figure out how to bring a boat in and do the thing, right in the boat, that would be great, because then you could see all the boxes and all the things we use. So we're going to try to work that out, see how that works. But that was another suggestion, so we're going to do that one. And then we had a couple other ones that we're definitely going to use. But tonight's show is going to be pretty interesting on breaking down a body of water. Nick was just up at Lake Ontario fishing. He had to break down a big piece of water, and we're going to talk about how he did that. And then we're going to talk about, how George and I break down our water, what we did for everything that we do. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time for that. For all you guys that don't know, my name is Mike Acord. This is George Acord, and behind the camera is cameraman Nick.
How's it going, everybody?
And glad to see everybody stopping in again for another great show, Tackle Shop Live, where we talk tackle, we talk technique, and we talk tournaments. And we try to throw out some tidbits and get some education flying around. Everything that we've learned over the years, we try to, pass it along. We've been fortunate over the years to fish with some of the greatest people, learned a lot of things, did a lot of tournament fishing over the years, and had some great success at that. So we were able to, accumulate a bunch of information that we'd like to pass on to you guys. And you guys always comment and give us great, stuff to read off of our live feed here. So don't be afraid to comment on anything tonight. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them at us. Make sure you go to our social media and check it out. We have, of course, YouTube. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have TikTok. So you can go to all those social media sites and like and share them and comment and spread the word of Tackle Shop Live. We would greatly appreciate it. It would help us out a lot, and it would help us keep doing this show, which we love to do. So that would be great. So how you doing, George? You doing all right?
Marvelous.
Marvelous. So Monday night, George and I jumped in the truck and went down to Chesapeake Beach, down on the Chesapeake Bay, and we went out for striper and redfish. Did a trip with our friend Patrick Latham from Shimano, and we went down there to really try to catch one of those big bull reds. And in the morning we got there, we did a top shallow water, super shallow water, top water fishing and jig fishing for stripers, which was fun. It was a good time. Always loved catching those stripers, and we caught a bunch of stripers for a couple hours, and then we went looking for those elusive redfish. Now there's normally a bunch there, but right now, it was a little tough. So we did a lot of looking and didn't find them, but we're going to go back down and see what we can do in August. They say there's going to be a bunch more around then. So hopefully we'll run into them. But this is Tackle Shop Live. We're going to get things going right now with the show, and we call this Tackle Talk.
What do you think, Mike?
Hey, man, I'm telling you, busy week so far this week. And hanging tackle, I love playing with tackle. We hung up a bunch of tackle, and we got some new stuff in. We got some cool stuff in. And what the neat thing is, Nick? It's like Christmas in here every day. The old UPS driver or the FedEx guy or some kind of freight company comes in here and knocks on the door, man. It's like, oh.
It's not really like Christmas because I've never had to unload trucks and process.
Yeah, but it's
pallets of tackle on Christmas morning.
It's like what
Might be Christmas for you.
Yeah, no, but it's like what is it today? It's like what is it today? What cool things come in today? And all of a sudden you look down and there's a surprise Megabass box full of awesome Megabass stuff, or there's that new bait that we've been waiting on forever rolls through the door. I just love it, man. I absolutely love it.
I'm going to tell you, every time I come in here, I look around and I'm like, holy smokes, just when you think more stuff couldn't come out, it does. But I can get what George is saying. It's like, you get the boxes in, but instead of unwrapping them and keeping them, you got to put them right back up.
Yeah. It's nothing like Christmas, Nick.
It's playing with tackle. We love playing with tackle. So it's all good. Mike Barr, how you doing? Tammy Greenman, how you doing, man? Kaigo Tammy's in the house. Amy Lynn Brown, how are you? Scott Van Leer, what's up, buddy? David Richardson's here, and Jesse McNutt, man. Good seeing you guys. Thanks so much for stopping in to another great edition of Tackle Shop Live. Oh, George, I didn't go over the results for the tournament that we fished.
Oh, okay.
Which I like to do. So first Conowinga, as I said earlier, the first Conowinga Open Series tournament came on, and it was this Sunday, and George and I went down and I'll tell you what, the fish were biting. I mean, they caught a lot of fish, and there was a lot of nice bags brought in, and the winners of that tournament was Adam Weidman and Stephen Enck, and both great customers of the store, been shopping with us forever. And they came in with a bag of 18.2 for the win. And that was very, very exciting to see that. I mean, that's a big bag for that body of water. So that was really cool to see that, to know that there's some those types of fish.
I got news for you.
Yeah.
18 pounds is a good bag for a lot of bodies of water.
Yeah, it really is.
Mike and I were
especially this time of year.
Yeah, Mike and I were hanging out after we fished our tournament Sunday, and we were looking at some tournament results and whatnot. And there was a Alabama Bass Trail tournament on Wheeler Lake.
Yeah,
and 17.5 pounds won that. So I mean, 18.5 pounds, unless you're going to the Thousand Islands or the St. Lawrence River or Cayuga or St. Clair or any other place up in the north is a really good bag right now.
Yeah, I mean that's
Unless you're on the Chesapeake Bay or the Potomac, that doesn't count.
yeah. Well, that's
And it can be a good bag there.
yeah. Congratulations to Adam Weidman and Stephen Ank for pulling that big bag in for first place. Second place, a very close second place, was Jerry Trud and Rob Hemlin, and those guys been shopping with us for a long time also, and really got into tournament fishing recently, and they weighed a bag in for 1713, all smallmouth for that bag. I think Adams was a mixed bag, and Jerry's was all smallies. I talked to him today, and he caught him pretty good. And Lunker went to Darren Dahl and Kenny Kleindense for 414 Lunker, so that paid well for everybody. We had 5 fish over 4 pounds and 20 fish over 3 pounds, and 100 fish total weight for 397 pounds. So there were a lot of fish caught. There were a lot of guys threw a few fish back, didn't weigh them in, but it was fun. It was a really good time. It was a really fun tournament. The weather was hot, a little hot, but it was nice and dry till the very end of the night, and then we got wet loading the boat up, but that's okay. We had good rain gear for that. And like I said, George and I finished in 11th with 12 pounds 4 ounces, and we were happy with that, and we were tickled to death with that. And what you saw down there in bags, somebody's asking if they were smallmouth, large. It was both. It was a lot of both kind of bags. So you're gonna see a lot of times you'll see a mixed bag, but sometimes the guys will get on to like second place. They got an all smallies, and they caught some nice smallies. But I also want to say the next tournament is in July the 9th, I think, or the 8th, or whatever that weekend there. It's the 8th or 9th. We'll talk about it next week for sure. Get everybody fired up on it. So invite you all down to have a good time and do some fishing. All right. So this is Tackle Talk. So what we got, George? We always bring some hot stuff in here. So you talk to me about what's going on here.
Well, we got a little cross sample of things this week. Just some different stuff. I was just kind of had a case of the random tackle, just kind of popping all over the place. And first of all, we got in a really unique shipment of Japan only megabass.
Exciting stuff.
I always have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
They'll do a few times a year. They'll do a special opportunity for, some of their full line megabass dealers. And, this one had an oldie, but a goodie on it. It had the Vision 95.
Yeah.
It had the Vision 95 on it.
Everybody's been screaming about that for years and years, and there it is again, baby, back in stock.
Yeah, well, there was a time when you could
get them
somewhat regularly buy these years ago. And just to kind of give you an idea, let's just pop this out of here real quick. And let's pop a 110 Junior out of the package. This is a color of, we got some special colors of 110 Junior. This is their chartreuse shad. Very awesome, very rare. But check this out. 95 versus 110 Junior. Just a little bigger in all regards. 2 hooks versus 3 hooks.
Which one's a 95?
95.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely has a little
Junior.
Little different back to it.
There you go.
A little shorter?
Yeah, it's a pretty close, but yeah, maybe a hair.
Yeah.
So we have a whole slew of colors in. That was Hatchero Bone, which we would call clown.
Yeah.
course, Elegee bone, you know,
Got to have that one in,
that's
in
kind
the
of
mix. That's a
kind
must
of a
have.
staple right there.
Yeah.
And then all kinds of IU colors.
IUs are beautiful.
Here's an NC IU.
Beautiful.
All kinds of cool IU colors. Here's a IL Kisu IU.
Yeah, that's nice. Your solid sided one. Solid color.
That's pretty cool. And Matt Tiger.
Ooh, nice.
And this one's pretty sharp. All you hardcore trout fishermen out there, AL Smelt.
Ooh.
Not to rule out you bass guys, but
Yeah.
big old brown trout put the hammer on that bad boy.
A bunch of guys would like that one.
And of course, standard Mega Bass King Curro. And one I really like, French Pearl.
Nice white one.
So that's in. We got some custom, or not custom, but Japan only colors of 110 Junior. Obviously, we talked about Chartreuse Shad.
Yeah, that's nice there.
Very sexy.
Yeah.
And then GLX Bolt. So bunches and bunches of those. Pop Max in TLC. Chartreuse Mouth. Chartreuse Belly. TLC back in the day was a very highly sought after Megabass color in the 110. In the 110. And in the Trick Darter. 110 in the Trick Darter. And speaking of Trick Darters, some Japan only colors in those. GP Phantom.
The Trick Darter is a great bait, man. That thing.
That's 2 hooks also.
That's a beautiful bait. A little bit broader, a little bit wider bait. More of your rounder profile.
GS Morocco.
Definitely has a time and a place for that profile.
Matt Hanum Hiroko.
Huh.
And on and on. There's a Cotton Wagasaki.
I can't really see that bottom one too well. Covering everything up.
And Natural Shad. Cotton Wagasaki.
Cotton Wagasaki. So it's a little pink on top.
So that is some of the color ways that came in that. Of course, there is more. And you can stop in the shop here. We don't bother to put them up on the website because they don't last long enough to put up on the website. And when they're gone, they're gone.
Hey guys, just a quick question. I mean, I've thrown the 110 Junior. I never threw the Darter or the 95. What's kind of the difference?
Well, like I said, on the Darter, it's a totally different shape. It's a broader, rounder shape, so it's it definitely has its time. It has its moments. I've definitely been schooled on that a couple of times over the years because I don't really throw it too much, but I always have them in my box. So in case that happens, I'm ready for it, but it definitely has a little bit different action in the water. That cuts differently through the water, wobbles a lot differently in the water. But it has that real broad profile that sometimes is really what's necessary.
It's also shallower. It's nice to fish in a little bit shallower water.
The Vision 95, 2-hooker. There again, I mean, there's like right now, literally for us right now in that post spawn, lots of small fry around. There's a lot of that small fry. You want that small profile. You want that thin profile. You want that bait to be skinny, and you can match the hatch with all those colors. And that's where the 95 really shines is this time of year when those fish are really they're off a little bit, the post spawn blues is happening or the fry are real small and you want that small profile.
They weren't off on Sunday.
No, but that bite will be really kind of goofy if you try to stick with a 110 if you try to do some of the bigger jerk baits that we do in the spring and later on in the summer and fall, you won't get the bites that these baits get. These baits will get you a lot of bites. You know, they really match the hatch nice. So, you know, that's the big thing for me with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a mega bass jerkbait freak, but 99% of the time, if it's not cold weather or super shallow, I throw a 110. I just live on a 110. Now, if it's real shallow water, that's where the trick darter comes in. 95s, I don't even own any 95s.
Well,
I used to own some 95s, but they kind of expired through use, and this is the first time I've seen 95s available in years.
Well, we throw the Lucky Craft, you know, the thinner profile Lucky Craft. What do they call that one, George? That smaller, thinner one, not the 115, but
I think that's a 95.
Yeah,
too.
I think that's a 95, but it's not the
97 MR.
No,
97 MR. That's never available either. But the 110 Junior now, that's part of my jam, and I like it in the +1 when the water's really cold. So, that's some of the new Japan colors that we got in from Megabass. And funny how all small baits, right? There is a badass Respect Series color coming in a week or two that I think people are going to be really excited for. But we'll go over that. We'll go over that on the next show when it gets here, because it's not here yet. Yeah. Y'all good on that Megabass, Nick? All right, cool. The other thing I can tell you about these smaller Megabass baits is you can fish them in shallow water extremely fast.
I got you, Kevin.
You can fish them in shallow water extremely fast. Upsize your line to like a 12, and you can rage on these things. They're a little more, especially the trick darters, lips a little more durable. So if you have any violent collisions, you'll survive. Next up, I got a fairly new lipless crankbait from Spro. And wait till you hear the sound of this thing. I'm just trying to get these Gamakatsu hooks so they don't stick me.
What's the name of that beast?
All right, you ready for this sound?
Mm-hmm.
Swear to God, I'm bleeding over here. You ready? Listen, everybody.
Good hooks on there. Oh, so tricky.
Pretty cool, huh?
So tricky.
That's the Iruku Shad Silent.
Ah.
Silent.
We have the flash, but we have no jingle.
Gamakatsu hooks, obviously. That's probably my number 2 all-time favorite color, Wild Shiner.
That's a good one.
So it's the Silent Iruku 75. It's got Silent written on the package there, so be careful. Now, in the store here, I put them like away from the other ones because all the packages are green now. So it kind of, I don't want anybody buying the wrong ones, but the Silent trap, and this has been done several times in the past, and I actually have some experience with them. Bill Lewis obviously did this. And Strike King did this with the Silent Red Eye Shad. People were like crying when they canceled that one.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a time and a place. Fishing pressure.
Yep.
Like,
I'm curious.
not the most cooperative fish, like negative fish, but
are they weighted the same?
Yeah.
Like that's a 7/8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5/8.
Or 5/8.
5/8.
Yeah,
5/8.
5/8.
Yeah, they don't really say on here, but it's 5/8. I love how they put every warning known to mankind on here. You know, the California warning, all kinds of warnings. Proposition 65. They don't tell you the stats on the bait.
What's
I mean-
important? Legal issues or the actual what the hell the bait is?
Thank you, California lawyers. Specifically, bounty hunting California lawyers that found the loophole that caused all this nonsense. But I digress.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the same 5/8 ounce silent Aruku, and as I was saying, pressured fish and fish that just aren't like active. You're on fish, and you gotta kind of finesse them. Obviously, a great opportunity for the silent. I always used it in really heavily pressured where I was trapping grass. I just used it when it was just, you know, one of the things I always did was I downsized to the 1/4 ounce trap. We talked about that on the show.
Mhm.
Changed the belly hook out, go up one size. Because I was around big fish, Potomac River back in the day. And then the silent.
Yeah.
Same scenario. So probably not the most critical bait you'll ever own.
Good to have a couple in the box.
But when you have that day,
yeah,
you know, and it's great for, you know, when you fish a fishery on a regular basis. And let's face it, a lot of our country, we have tremendous fishing pressure. Even some of the biggest lakes around have tremendous fishing pressure.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the Decatur Flats fish on the Tennessee River lakes hear a rattle trap or two in the spring.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, they
kind of cool.
see and hear a bunch of stuff on the spring.
Kind of cool. I'm kind of digging this. This has been out for a little while. We're just getting around to telling you about it now. I'm sure some of the more astute people,
Well, you gotta-
tackle people amongst us are all dialed in on this, but very, very nice.
Got to throw it out there, man. You got to throw it out there for, you know, the guys who just, you know, for either or just forgot about it. You know,
Well, you know, one of the things we talk about a lot and can't really stress with you enough is the power of the lipless crankbait in cold water. And particularly in the fall, that threshold, that bottom temperature threshold is a lot lower than it is in the spring. So what I mean by that is like 42-degree water in the fall, fish is a lot warmer than 42-degree water in the spring.
yeah,
So,
you can burn that sucker.
you know, in the fall, you know, when I'm in that 42-degree water, I'm all yo-yo. I'm just like so into that, dialed into that yo-yo bite. And I have yet to do it, but it will happen. The silent series, because a lot of times we're getting on schools of fish that time of the year and we're putting a lot of pressure on them. And a lot of times that yo-yo bite, it's kind of like the first frontier of firing up the school. And then you have to like I usually downplay to a jerk bait. And then I usually downplay to like a finesse bait. Well, I got it. Something else I want to throw in there. So excited to bring you the Aruku 75 silent.
Mhm.
Okay. So there you go.
Beautiful
Nick,
bait.
where are you at on that?
Well, the first thing I see is make sure, like you said, that you see that it says silent on there, and maybe they should go with a different color packaging for the silent series.
Yeah,
That's true. They could have put what's the international color for silent?
probably not many people throw a silent rattle trap.
I would say they should probably put like
I bet you
a
out
back
of
marker on it, like the
I bet
quiet
you
sign at the golf course.
out of everybody that's listening here, I bet you less than 1% throw a silent rattle trap. It's just nothing that you would ever think of, you know. But like George said, there's that moment, there's that moment in time where it doesn't hurt to have your favorite color, maybe one or two of them in the box, just in case that situation arises, or you were getting some bites on a rattle trap and all of a sudden, with rattles in it, and all of a sudden that bite goes away. This is a great bait to kind of alternatively throw in there, work it around, and possibly get a couple more big bites. And they might be your bigger bites. So I don't throw it a lot. I honestly don't. I probably won't throw one, 3-4 times a year. And I just don't throw it that much, but we have a couple bouncing around. Plus we have a couple of the old floaters, that we have kind of in the box just to have, you never know, what situation you might come into. I know there's a bite that the guys like a floater, they like that floater. They can fish it ultra shallow and rip it across those little gravel bars and stuff. They don't have to worry about, the thing really hooking up into anything major, and they can stop it and rip it. And it's kind of neat fishing that thing, but you just don't throw it much, but it's nice to have it. That situation is going to come about one of these days. So you don't need a lot of them, but you need a couple. What else you got, George?
I got a couple hooks that are pretty sweet. The first one is very unique. These are both Trokar hooks.
Wait, George loves hooks. If you just walk in his shop, you'll see there's 10 jillion different hooks in here.
Well, I'm proud of our hook selection.
Yeah, it's an awesome hook selection.
There's not too many hook selections like it.
No.
Like,
I remember
seriously.
I remember when he started buying hooks, he's like, I'm going to put hooks in here, man. I'm going to have every kind of hook you can possibly imagine for bass fishing. And he's pretty damn close to it.
I had a guy in here last week who was looking for some kind of hook, and he goes, "Yeah, you're pretty much bought out." I'm like, what? So I walked back. I'm like, were you in this aisle here? There's literally 40,000 packs of hooks in this aisle from 7 manufacturers of every style of hook known to mankind. I'm sorry, but that didn't compute with me. I thought that was funny. But no, this first one here is a little bit different. And it's a drop shot hook that Trokar makes called the Axis. AXS. Check this out. It's a little TK 150 drop shot hook, which is a bad boy. This is a size 2. But instead of like hooking your bait up traditional nose hook style, you're going to hook your bait up. Let me grab a little bait here. You're going to hook your bait up with the little spiker. And
God, you need glasses, bro.
get that. Take your time and get that nice and straight like that. Okay? You want to really take your time on that and get it nice and straight. And now you have your hook, your drop shot right there. And that little keeper barb will work with Elastec. So you can put your various Z-Man or your,
not gonna lie, that's pretty cool.
Your baby Z2 or whatever you want on there, because those little spikes like that work well with Elastec and it's not coming off. So that is called the Trokar Axis drop shot hook. And the base of that is that TK 150, which is just a killer hook. Is that something?
Does it move out of the way when you set the hook?
Where's it going to go?
Like down the bend or something to open up the gap, or to get the more of the point in it?
The gap is 100% open. There's nothing in the gap. See the gap?
Okay.
There's nothing. No, this is not the amazing Kreskin here.
No, I mean,
there's nothing there.
Get the point past the barb, no problem. Yep.
Yeah. You can't get any more open than that. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice.
The Axis. And the other Trokar I have is their real, just serious weighted, belly weighted swim bait hook. But look at that gap. That's a 3/0.
Mm.
You know, if you have a swim bait or a bulkier bait, this is a screw lock. But what I want to show you is how this bulky body bait here, this hook fits it so well. Again, take your time and get that screw working, you know, right in that perfect centered up. Right like that. And then what I like to do is kind of come back here and kind of measure up, you know, where I want that hook to go through the body. And then I kind of mark that. And I'm going to do a 90 degree bend the bait and come straight out the back. You got plenty of gap there for that. That's a 3/0.
Boy, and a big old bait like that, that's almost right.
That's a 3/0 1/8 ounce. Imagine a 3.8 Kitech,
Yeah.
you know, or similar style of swim bait,
Yeah, I like that.
or a smaller toad style bait.
Yeah.
One of the things I really like is a little weight on my toad styles, like my toad baits that I'm going to swim across the surface. And that 3/0
Yeah.
with that gap on a smaller toad bait, like a, you know, something that's not as big, you know, a horny toad or something of that nature.
Mhm.
And then they make us in a 5/0 with this 1/8 ounce. And that 1/8 ounce weight is perfect for buzzing across the surface. What's going to happen with that?
Keel that thing
It's
up
not
right.
going to roll over.
Yeah, it's going to keel it right.
You know, when you fish, and I spend most of my time with this style of hook unweighted
Mhm.
toad fishing, and of course it rolls over. You got to pause, let it right itself. This is not going to roll over. Okay, great hook, Trocar. This is a TK 170. Okay.
No, Tim Hegarich, we don't have any 12-0 7691s for you. How are you, Tim? Good to see you stopping in,
Hold
bro.
up, Timmy. I got a hook for you.
Yeah. Tim used to be a good bass fisherman. Now he's a fantastic
I know you're catching mostly
Saltwater
small
guy.
fish down where you're at, but we tend to run a little bit,
yeah.
a little more steel on them
That's
here.
that's what George and I run for our
Yeah.
fish.
This is a, you know, they're big enough when you can read the size on them. That's when you know you're using the right size hook. This is a 45/0, Tim. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ever want to come up here and fish for some good ones? I don't know how things are done on the Black Pearl Charters boat, but
Yep.
we go big, son.
Yep. Hey man, it's good to see you, Tim. Man, good to see you. We talk a lot about you, and I'm glad to
That
see
kid's
you.
a natural.
He is natural fish catcher, man.
He's a natural.
Unbelievable. Robert Bretz is here today. Sam and Sam got here. How are you doing, my friend? Kenny Hodgins, how you doing, Kenny? Matthew Weimer, I saw you were late. Tardy. You missed out on some good stuff. You're going to have to listen to the whole podcast now. And Jonathan Kerr, how are you, bud? Good seeing you. What else you got? Anything else, George? Are you?
Damn right.
Yeah. Roll it.
Well, I don't know if you noticed my hook, my bait I put on my drop shot hook.
Yeah, it's a nice little sucker.
That is a 4-inch big bite baits jerk minnow.
Yeah, fluke style.
Right, but guess what?
What up with that?
Drop shotting for smallmouth.
Yeah,
You know, you go up on these nice clear water smallmouth waters, and they're feeding up on perch, shad, bigger baits.
that's what you want to throw.
Drop shotting that bad boy. You can hook it up on your new Axis hook, or you can thread it like we were talking about last week. Thread it on a little straight shanker. Or how about if you're just going to do a little finesse weightless twitching? You creek guys wading the creeks, skipping this around in your shade banks on your creeks for smallmouth and whatnot. I mean, that's a bad boy right there.
A donkey on a donkey rig.
Yeah. Fish two different sizes.
Yeah, I like that.
How about a Demiki rig?
Demiki rig.
How about when you're moping? Demiki rigging.
Yeah. Lots of
Putting that on a
opportunities for that
one
thing.
aught hook jig head with a 90-degree eye.
I like it. I like it. I like that size. I like that bait.
I could go on.
I like
for
that
days,
bait.
literally.
They fish good
It's
too.
like I could come up with 98 ways to rig that thing.
I know you could.
I mean, and you could do a
You are a
commercial.
rigging fool, bro.
You could do a commercial for like big bite baits. You can mope rig it. You can, you can twitch it. You can nose rig it. You can thread it. You can drop shot it. You can fish it on a jig head, Carolina rig, split shot rig, wacky rig. I mean,
I know these rigs, man. You know how I feel about all these rigs now.
and all that's before lunch.
I have a problem with some of these rigs, man. These things are out of control.
How about the 5-inch?
Love that 5-inch one.
Let's do a comparison.
I love the colors that Big Bite Bait offers. That's a green pumpkin chartreuse swirl, Nick. That thing, I don't know if you guys can see that real well, but that has some chartreuse.
Don't adjust your set.
That has some chartreuse kind of mixed in there. And, that's the thing about those companies. They come up with some pretty cool colors and stuff that you can try, that you were like dipping it or you were trying to make it like this. These guys have some really, really cool colors.
You know what else is awesome about this? It's a little heavier.
It is. It's nice.
You can bomb cast it.
Remember when we were throwing out last year, Nick, we busted out that chartreuse and white one.
You guys that are on schooling fish that are blowing up on head, and they just always seem to be out of reach.
Yeah.
And then you troll over there, and then right where you were, they blow up where you just were all day long.
Them sons of bitches.
You can throw this farther than most of them. The only other one that you can throw this far is the Strike King.
Yeah,
Caffeine
that's
shad.
a heavy one.
But this bad boy launches, and they're durable.
Yeah.
You're not constantly
Yeah.
re-rigging it after one fish. Big Bite Bait,
Yeah.
jerk minnow.
I'm glad you brought that up, George, because that was my question. What's the weight compared to, let's say, the Zoom? Because I really found up at Lake Champlain is that you almost needed a variation of both, because that heavier one sometimes gets you down there a little bit quicker, and you need that sometimes. So I think that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that's important also, not only from casting distance, but if you're trying to fish this bait deeper,
Or in wind.
we generally will put a number 7 barrel swivel on
Mhm.
a leader, which helps greatly. But
Mhm.
if you choose a Big Bite jerk minnow, you're going to get down there even faster yet. So we're big time Zoom super fluke guys, and most people are, but there's a reason that we carry, Strike King caffeine shads and, power bait jerk shads and Big Bite, jerk minnows and
Yeah.
on and on and on, not to mention all the Z-Man variations.
Yeah.
You can really dial in your presentation. I mean, these baits are now being used so many different ways. We were joking around a minute ago, but if you're a current fisherman, which a lot of us river guys are, those things on a jig head, when your fish are on shad, freaking deadly.
Yeah.
Absolutely deadly.
Sure.
Drop shotting for smallmouth. As we talked about, that cold water, I mean, how Gussie won the Classic,
Mhm.
on and on and on and on and on. So we wanted to bring up the Big Bite Bait jerk minnow 4-inch, 5-inch, $3.99 for the 4-inch.
Yeah.
$4.29 for the 5-inch.
Great price.
Okay. And 10 in a pack.
Jumbo pack.
Okay. So
Can't believe you
The
can even lift that up.
4-inch
It's so heavy.
the 4-inch is 10 in a pack. So there you go. Also from Big Bite, and I've been meaning to talk about these all year, we got 3 new colors of Pro Swimmer. Every company out there has knocked off Kitex swimmer. This Big Bite Pro Swimmer is no joke. Okay? It's no joke. I'm just here to tell you, this is a fish catching fool right here. It's one of my secret weapons. 3.8 size. Perch dinner.
Love me some perch dinner. What's the name of that place, George? You like your perch dinner? Blue Heron.
Yeah, in Chameau, New York.
Chameau, New York.
Yep.
Got to bring that up.
Let me tell you something. If you're going up north to fish Lake Ontario, to fish the St. Lawrence, if you watch the last 4 days or week of the Bass Pro Tour on St. Clair, all those fish were eating perch. This bait's too small, but that's the color. Okay? Drop shot, big smallies.
Yeah.
But you need to go to the 3.3 or the 3.8. This is a 3.3
Yeah.
size comparison. This is a new color called Tilapia Magic.
They love that tilapia on that company. Tilapia, everything.
Tilapia Magic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one is called Carp Killer. Okay.
Okay.
Carp Killer.
Looks like
and they're donating
It's like Ghost Shad to me.
some of the proceeds of every pack of Carp Killer to the control of the invasive carp.
That's a great idea.
Carp Killer.
That's a great idea.
Got that purple pearl belly and that smoky back.
Yeah, beautiful.
Big Bite Bait Pro Swimmer 2.8, 3.3, 3.8. No joke. I'm here to tell you these are legit swim baits.
There you go.
And they do really well.
There you go for
And that,
yeah.
as they say,
Is that?
is your tackle talk segment for today.
Don't forget, guys, if you want the 95s and some of these Japanese colors and also any of the specialty baits we showed you tonight, call the store here or stop in. We'll get them to you. You know, we'll tell you what we got left in stock and we'll get them to you. George got quite a few of them, so we still have a few around. And you guys get your
Went big. Went big.
Yeah.
Huge.
So you'll be able to get your hands on some of them. Just give us a call here at the shop, and we'll hook you right up and ship them right out to you. If you're not local, if you're local, stop in, check out the wall. We're starting this high-tech wall over here. George said I need a little bit more space, so he's got this whole wall of
I wanted to differentiate.
limited supply Japanese.
I'm working
colors.
on it.
Yeah,
I'm working on it. I got some bling coming for my wall.
yeah. So he's got a whole thing he's working on over there. So we're going to kind of spread that all out and need more Megabass space. Ain't that awesome? All right. Well, there you have it. There's a great section of Tackle Talk, and on any of these products, if you have any questions, you can call us here. We'll talk you through it. Andre Albanez, how you doing? Good to see you, buddy. The price on what? Price on what? Megabass, $19.99 for the 95s. Okay. We're gonna keep this show going because we're running along already. George, let's do a little tournament talk here real quick because I think it's going to roll right into it because of those baits you were talking about.
It's going to be damn little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of tournament talk.
Real a little bit.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Little tournament talk. There we go.
We need a different producer.
It's wide open for you, bro. It's wide open for you.
I'm going to have some custom recordings all labeled up.
There you go. That's first of all, that's the biggest BS I've ever heard in my life.
What are you talking about?
You've been saying this for what, three months now?
Well, I don't have time, but I'm going to get it done. I'm going to hire somebody to do it for me.
Exactly. Johnny Warwick, how are you, buddy? I hope you're feeling good, man. We've been thinking about you. I'm glad you're watching the show tonight. And thanks a lot for not beating up on those smallies for us. But I hope you're doing well. I know you are. I know you're doing well. Give us a call here at the shop so we can talk a little bit. All right. What do you got, George? Oh, he wants well, how much are those swim baits?
SFTtackle.com will tell you everything you want to know about those swim baits.
Okay. Didn't write it down. That's all right. All right, so we were watching the Major League Fishing, right?
Well, every minute
Yeah,
of it.
we watched a lot of it. And that was on St. Clair. That was pretty awesome. And I think who was doing well? That was can't think of his name.
Jordan Lee.
Jordan Lee, yeah. Jordan Lee. Man, he was catching some big ones. He caught a 6'7" or something like that, man. A beautiful fish. He was like trying to land that thing. It's like, oh my God. They look like a football. But
Yeah, he won.
yeah, he won the tournament, and I think he led all his legs the whole way through, plus the final, which was pretty exciting. But Wheeler made a big push on today, and you know, that was pretty cool. You know, Wheeler's awesome. You know, he catches them. Is that all a little bit we have, George?
Yeah, well, it was actually a pretty interesting tournament for one major reason. And not because they caught a bunch of smallmouths. I mean, if you go to St. Clair, anytime that it's not covered in ice, you're going to catch a bunch of smallmouths. If it's not covered in ice and if it's not blowing 25 knots, you're going to catch a bunch of smallmouths because it's just a phenomenal smallmouth fishery.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting to me was, you know, Jordan Lee won on the Canadian side of the lake. And during their official pre-practice period, they weren't allowed to fish in Canada because the bass season was closed.
Oh, did it open during the tournament?
Opened up on the first day of the tournament. So they were able to go over there and drive around and graph and drop their AquaView cameras and look, but they weren't able to fish. So he decided that his past history there, he was going to win this tournament in Canada. And he pre-practiced without a fishing rod and led every single day of the tournament that he fished.
Wow.
And caught lunker every single day of the tournament that he fished.
Wow.
And didn't make a cast until the first day of the tournament.
That's pretty crazy.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Think about that.
It's pretty interesting. And of course, you know, anyone who's ever fished that lake can tell you, it's a giant featureless bowl. There's a little bit of a shipping channel down the middle. There's little bitty patches of
Eelgrass,
sandgrass.
Yeah.
And
big giant flats everywhere.
And bait.
Yeah.
And the key to this tournament was, you know, there was a beautiful, you know, textbook mayfly hatch going off. And, you know, if you watch the tournament at all, you saw Alton Jones work that mayfly hatch to perfection. Only problem with that was the big fish were not on the mayflies. The big fish were not on the various minnows that are in that lake. The emerald shiners and the other little types of minnows that are in that lake. The big fish were quite simply on big perch, yellow perch. And if you saw any of these puked up perch that these guys were showing you,
they were big.
They were 6 inches long.
Yeah.
And that's what the big fish were roaming around with. You know, they're coming off the spawn. They're moving off the shallows to the lake, which, you know, the lake's not that deep. It's 20-something foot deep. And, you know, he was drop shotting that Maxent flat nose minnow to imitate that bigger profile.
The bigger one, though.
I think it was a 5-inch.
5-inch, yeah.
And which is a good size bait.
Yeah.
And he was also, he caught his biggest fish, the biggest fish of the tournament on a Ned rig, Little General.
Oh yeah.
So those two baits and forward facing sonar, and he is $107,000 richer, or $8,000 richer. Because I think
third win for the year.
I think he had $8,000 in lunker And I don't believe it is his third win for the year. I think it's his first win since 2020.
Check your facts on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was his first win in 3 or 4 years.
In the major league fishing.
Yeah. He's doing great.
JT Kenny's a liar. Then
I might be wrong, but I don't think I am.
I think, or maybe they said it's his third win in the series or something. In the
Oh, that's
series.
very possible. Yeah,
His third win.
Well, he's a
possibly.
great fisherman. He also has what, two classics?
Yeah,
back to back.
back classic
Yeah.
wins. Oh, he's phenomenal. He catches gigantic fish. I mean, he's got a knack for catching a big fish in almost every tournament he fishes. And that's a game changer fish. You know what I mean? He's unbelievable. Pretty cool. So that was fun watching that. Clear water like that, that's pretty cool. I was watching Wheeler, and he was talking about it. He's like, you just go out there and you just scan around, and there's one, you throw at it, and if he doesn't hit it right away, you just keep going. He said they either going to take it right away or they're not going to eat, and don't want to waste your time on it. You just keep going. And there's another one he throws at. Oh, I see you got that one, and it was neat watching that, how he figured that out. And the other thing that really surprised me about him that he said, oh, that's a big one. I saw the tail kick. I mean, what the hell?
Did you guys take notice? I heard that during practice they weren't allowed to fish the Canadian side because it wasn't open yet or something like that.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, I wasn't with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they end up fishing that side, or did they?
Yeah, it was
They
one
won.
on the
Yeah,
Canadian
okay,
side.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
They weren't allowed to practice and cast, though. They were allowed to drive over there and look around. And
Well, you're allowed to use their aqua view.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look around.
The other interesting thing about Wheeler is his drop shot setup for smallmouth. Most people use like an 8-pound test leader. Some guys use 6. He uses 12 and a bigger hook because he doesn't want to waste time fighting the fish. He wants to hook them and get them out of the water. And that's part of his system because you can spend a lot of time like fighting a smallmouth with a small hook and lighter line, and you don't want to lose them. They're a big fish. You can spend a lot of time fighting those fish. So he fishes 12-pound fluorocarbon leader on his drop shot.
Yeah.
A little bigger hook. Pretty cool. But he has put himself in a really good position.
He ended up in third.
I think it was third.
Yeah.
He put himself in a really good position to make a run at Angler of the Year. You see Op Defoe's leading that, but he didn't make the cut. He didn't make the knockout round, so he let some points on the table, and Wheeler popped him right up. They got one tournament to go.
So it's close enough now? Close enough so you can make a run at it?
Doable.
It is.
Yep.
Where's the next one at?
Saginaw Bay, right up the road. And they're saying that one is possibly going to be one on largemouth because the largemouth fishery is really good up there. So that is your little bit of tournament talk. We really didn't take a deep dive on anything this week.
Yeah.
You know, something that's interesting about that tournament, though, and every tournament that's smallmouth related, there's no netting. And these fish, I mean, these guys, their anxiety has to be through the roof when they got these big fish on, because those fish do everything they can to get unbuttoned every time. So it made a lot of sense what you were saying, George, with what Wheeler likes to do. He likes to upsize, and he probably don't have to deal with that as much.
Well, the other thing about smallmouth is if you can get your hand under their belly, they will just lay there. They won't flop. They will not shake their head. You can literally hold them like that for a couple seconds before they realize that they're no longer in water. And then they'll give you a little kick. But, if you get underneath their belly like that,
It kind of freezes them up a
it
little
calms
bit.
them down, freezes them up.
You can quick
And
grab.
you'll notice that's how most of them grab. They're not trying to lip them. Most of them are bellying them. And I like the no net rule.
I knew all about it on Sunday. George forgot the net, so we were boat flipping fish all day long.
Yeah, well, a lot of times we don't use a net. I prefer no net. I mean,
I like a net in tournaments.
if you get a situation with some treble hooks, it's nice, but if you got a single hook, you're pretty good.
What's up there, Charles Daughtery? Good to see you stopping in there. Raymond Barton. Wheeler may have designed some new plastics. Yeah, he may or may not have. May or may not have. And George and I may or may not have been throwing them in the water Sunday. May or may not have.
And we may or may not have ordered every SKU that they may or may not have made.
We may or may not have done that. we may or may not have caught some fish on them on Sunday.
We may or may not have even heard of a Ned BLT or a freeloader or the Mare. I mean, we may or may not have heard of any of these things. I'm just saying. It may or may not have happened.
Yep.
But coming up quick. When is it? ICAST.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks, we may or may not be able to cut loose on some of this.
The 11th.
We may or may not have a filming appointment set up with Wheeler.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mayor or mayor notter.
Mayor Notter.
I don't know what you're talking about, Charles.
Yeah.
But
You brought it
yeah,
up. You brought it up, Charles.
The
you
freeloader,
may or may not have done
Charles, the freeloader or whatever it's called swims great. The mare, whoever made that, is an awesome mare bait. And we all saw what Wheeler did with the Ned BLT today.
that. Yeah.
He was serving lunch out there on the lake
Yeah.
St. Clair.
Yeah.
All right. But that's just silliness right there. I'm just sorry about that.
Yeah.
Some of our guests. We have Griffin's Guide Service on here, Mike.
Yeah. How you doing,
That's
brother?
who we fished with the other day.
Yep. Yep.
Anybody looking for, I don't know, even know if these guys have any openings because they're the hottest thing on the Eastern Shore. The Western Shore, but you might want to give them a look-see. Griffin's Guide Service.
I
Check them out.
Yeah, those guys are running a top-notch deal, top-notch equipment.
First rate.
They're all sponsored by Shimano, so you're fishing Twin Powers and Sustains and GCX saltwater rods and IMX Pro Blues. It's all good stuff. State-of-the-art equipment on the boat. Good.
I know one thing.
And some fun. They're good guys. They're not those stingy guys. They're fun to hang around with. So we had a good time with them for sure.
Took us on about 135-mile round trip tour of the Chesapeake Bay. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and freaking 3 and 4 footers.
We was looking for some big reds. Great trip. Highly recommend those guys. They're first rate. If you can't figure out how to get a hold of them, give us a call here at the shop, and we will get you set up.
Yep.
With the fellas over at Griffin's Guide Service.
Yep. Okay. Announcement for all you guys listening. Tomorrow, Friday, June 30th through July 1st is the...
Would that be Saturday?
Yep. Friday and Saturday.
That.
Friday and Saturday, June 30th and July 1st, in the shop here in Columbia, Pennsylvania, is the Independence Day, July 4th sale going on in the shop here. And where's that list that you were going to print off for me?
I may or may not have efforted that. Hold on a second.
So we wanted to do something special for this. And it kind of comes into time where, we're moving tackle, some of the stuff has
Very
to go.
demanding.
Yeah. Some of the stuff has to go. And, we change up the shop in July because, we're going to ICAST. We're buying all this new stuff. A lot of the releases are coming in. So they're redesigning stuff. So you're going to see a lot of closeouts happening. And ours starts tomorrow. We're closing out a lot of stuff. And, but we got some great stuff going on. We have XD series Strike King baits.
Crankbaits.
All the XD series crankbaits. 25% off. I mean, that is a killer freaking deal for you guys coming up on the summer. You're going to want to get involved with that. Strike King Thunder Crickets, 5/8 ounce size, little heavier one, 50% off. If you guys want to try one of these things, it's a great time to come in and grab those. So there's a bunch of stuff on here. There's some Max Scent specials. We got Chigger Craws for 25% off on the Max Scent. We got Slobber Knockers at 40% off. And, what else we have here? Big Bite Bait. We just talked about that. The Sensation Somali. 25%
Sounds like a
off.
country.
Yeah. But there you go. It's a great drop shot bait for this time of year. Georgia's going big time. 25% off on those. Z-Man Big Blades. Is that a typo? 50% off. Z-Man Big Bladed Chatterbaits. 50% off. I think that's a typo.
It's not a typo.
It's not a typo, he says. All right. So there you have it. We got those going on. We got Jackal Beat Crawl swim jigs. We got a special going on to get them out, get them started. 25% off on Jackal Beat Crawls. So that's a good deal. Here's an awesome deal for you. G Loomis GLX, which is all you guys are all psyched up about. 25% off.
Hey now.
G Loomis GLX. You guys are hearing about it first, so you can be here first on that. Shimano DC 150 and 151, 20% off. If you want to try a Corrado DC, 20% off. Corrado K's 15% off. The Corrado 200K series, 20% off. I mean, these are crazy pricing. Yeah, crazy pricing. And we got Poison Adrenas at 15% off. I'm not supposed to say that, but we got it. And we have all kinds of cool stuff going on. So whatever you do, you're going to want to stop in. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys that are away from this area, and we're going to definitely want to, we're going to definitely want to do something for you. And what we're doing is starting on Sunday, we're having a awesome online sale Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 15% off almost everything on the website for you guys that can't get here and can't take advantage of these great specials. That is something you're going to want to check out and take advantage of that. Stock up for your summer stuff. We have some great stuff going on there. Also, for you guys coming into the shop here, most everything is going to be 10% off, and then we have these great blowouts. I just gave you a couple of them. There's a ton of them. There's an absolute ton of specials that you're going to want to take advantage of. So make sure, please, this is it for you guys. I mean, this is some great savings. So there you have it. Starting tomorrow, we'll see you guys bright and early. I hope so, and you can take advantage of that, of those great sales. And for you guys that are out of town, online, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, runs till midnight Tuesday night. Then it shuts off, 15% off almost everything in the shop. See the website for the details of that. So there you have it. Awesomeness. What else you got, George?
I got nothing.
Oh, okay. Let's see. We have to talk about nothing.
Well, we're gonna how we go about breaking down water.
Yeah.
See, all that.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Exactly. So now
that's going to take a minute.
Yeah, we got time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a little technique on how to catch and break down a body of water. Oop. Fat fingers. Yeah, so we had one of you guys, one of our listeners, sent in a request for kind of breaking down, but how long to stay on a spot, breaking down a body of water, how long would you fish an area before you move? So we thought we would go over, what you do, how you go to a body of water and break it down, for the day. You know, how do you pre-fish for a tournament that, you know, kind of like for that particular day before you go? Or if you're just going fishing, how would you break down that body of water? What would you do to if you haven't been there in a while and you want to break it down? I know George and I, when we fished our tournament on Sunday, we haven't been there in a year. So we kind of went out there and we had to look at it like this is our practice day. We're just going to go out and practice. We're going to fish some history, and then we're going to check some things. We're going to we kind of know what's going on around the area, so we can we know that the fish are pretty much done spawning, and we kind of know where they're moving to, but are they there yet? Or are they not there yet? And so we just want to kind of get into that and kind of go over, you know, some of the things that you should do and what and that you should look at and maybe think about when you go fishing. So,
I mean, I use a pretty basic formula that you know serves well, I think. And you know, the first thing is, and you know, if you're fishing like one or two bodies of water all the time, I hope you pick a nugget or two up here. This show's probably not for you. But if you're bouncing around to, you know, different, maybe you're going to take a summer vacation and go, you know, to a body of water you've never seen before. Or maybe you're a tournament fisherman and your club is going to a body of water you've never been to before. Or, you know, there's lots of what ifs or maybes. So,
yeah,
you know, it can be your regular body of water that maybe you just got away from and haven't been back in a year, like happened to Mike and I on this past weekend. Or it can be a body of water that you used to fish a lot that's a little out of your region that maybe you're making a special trip to, or you're going to fish a little team tournament down there with your buddy or something. But at some point in time, unless you fish the same water over and over again, you're going to have to break down a body of water and, you know, get those first couple bites of the day.
absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of where it's at. You got to get bit.
That's the biggest thing, is making sure that you do get bit and running through those baits that you would definitely want to get bites with. You know, you don't want to go in there with some kind of crazy bait, but you know, for especially a place that you fished before, you kind of know what works in those areas. But like George said, you got to get some bites. But
I mean, to me, it's like again, it's kind of like a formula. So, you know, I look at, you know, the time of the year. Well, we're going to talk about this time of the year.
Yeah, you can't talk about a whole year.
You know, most places are, you know, post-spawn to full-blown summer pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get far enough up north, and obviously you have fish that are spawning, fish that have spawned and are starting to move out. So, you know, that's kind of what we're talking about. The spawn's over.
Yeah.
The fish are starting to move to a summer lifestyle. So, you know, if you're on a reservoir or a lake that stratifies and it's been hot, you know, first identify in your deeper water where your thermocline is. You know, if you have a thermocline, identify that depth, because your fish are going to be right above that. Your full-blown summer fish that are offshore. If you have shallow cover, grass, and you're going to fish a day or two, I'm kind of like, if I haven't been here in a long time, or if it's kind of new to me, my formula is, if it's a grass lake, I'm fishing the grass. In my mind, I just cleared out all waters that are not grass. And I am going to go day one all in on grass. And that can be anything from pads to milfoil to eelgrass to stargrass to pencil reeds, buggy whips, whatever. But it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
It simplifies. It eliminates water. And then I'm looking for watercolor. If I'm in a reservoir that's been experiencing a lot of rain in the region, my creeks coming in are going to dirty up water. I'm going to rule stuff out there, and that's all. That is before I make a cast.
Well,
That's kind of how I start the process myself.
Yeah. So, and it kind of put that into, an actual situation on Sunday. And I'm going to go back to this a lot because this was the perfect situation, for this scenario that George is talking about. Kind of knowing the body of water, but not being there in a year, and knowing what was going on with the fish, we decided to go to grass. I mean, it's a grass body of water. It has grass in it. We're going to it. And we went to this grass bed. We pulled in there, right, and instantly found bait fish. I mean, instantly saw bait fish flipping and some activity in the grass. And fortunately, on the third cast, we caught a nice smallmouth on a buzzbait. So we know that there's fish in there. So we got our bite. But we expanded that grass. We went in that grass. We expanded it. I was throwing a certain bait, and my partner would throw a different bait. I was throwing a topwater. He was throwing a bait going through the grass, and we fished that area in that grass. And but we didn't know if that was the right bite. So, but we had to fish it, and we did get bites. So that's kind of what George is saying there. Go into that grass, finding that water, finding that clear water. And we ran into some dirty water that wasn't right. Was it, George?
No. The other thing that I like, and if I am going to focus on shallow and grass, is I need to see bait.
Yeah.
I need to find bait fish. I need to physically eyeball see them.
Yeah.
Or see them on my electronics, or hear them flicking and popping and doing all their things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you got to know there's food in the right area.
And also the time of the year, the bluegill spawn. So it's eyes, ears, and covering water. Keep that trolling motor, never cast to the same spot twice. So that's like phase one. But there's always multiple ways to catch fish. So.
Yeah, you don't know if that bite. I mean, the first fish we caught was a nice fish. It was a nice fish. But the second and third fish we caught were smaller ones, and we don't know if that was the bite for the day. So you have to expand on it.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm breaking it down this time of the year, I want to go ultra shallow, and then I want to go out to the outer edge.
Yeah.
I want to go out to where that grass breaks, or I want to go out to where that flat breaks. If it's not grass, I'm still going to fish shallow, but I'm going to fish hardcover shallow, and that could be either visible or only on electronics visible.
So for our day, we went, here's the bank. Here's the deep water. We set the boat down. We got up, started fishing, and we went directly into, now this was 200 yards of grass. Even, and we caught the fish like right here. Our first fish was caught right here. But we still went all the way to the shallow water. And then we went up the bank on shallow water. And then we turned and we came back out through that grass and got bit again right here. And then we kept going to the outside edge and didn't get bit out there. We went up the outside edge for a little bit, turned and went straight back into the bank again and fished shallow, turned and came back out and got bit on the third time. Remember that? And that was out a little bit. So now we're putting something together. The fish weren't shallow. We fished shallow. We weren't getting bites. The fish we were getting bites were out more into the grass bed and into deeper water. So,
well, the fish we decided to fish for, I mean, there may have been some really shallow fish. We just didn't find them.
But we
made our decision.
We checked it.
We made our decision based on the bites we got. And that's what you kind of have to do when you're breaking it down.
Yeah. Then what do you do? The
other thing that I like to do is I like to start off the day with the assumption that the fish are going to be aggressive. So I'm fishing moving baits. you know, and this time of the year, whether you're fishing grass or just shallow, you know, it's a wide range of baits. It's a spinner bait, it's a buzz bait, it's a chatter bait, it's a crank bait, it's a topwater. So quite a few things in that range is how I'm starting my day off. And my theory is I'm going to start each day thinking these fish are going to be uber aggressive and I'm going to have the greatest day of fishing I ever experienced.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to let the fish prove me wrong. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep an open mind that there are other times of the day when those fish feed. And I'm a big believer in, for example, topwater. I'm a huge believer. Topwater is an all-day thing. I actually, most of the time, have a high, obviously, first thing in the morning, we all have a high level of confidence. But I have a higher level of confidence when the sun's high. It positions fish.
Mhm.
Now, all of you out there raising your eyebrows up and like, oh, I don't know about that. Well, if you frog fish in grass, do you not like it better when the sun is up?
Yeah.
If you answered no to this question, you probably don't catch a lot of fish on a frog in grass because guess what? That's the best time.
Yeah.
And your other top waters are just as effective that way. So you're covering water, you're getting bit, but you know, there's going to be periods of time when that does not work and you need to be flexible enough and, you know, not procrastinate in making an adjustment to a slower moving bait, which may be a swim bait, a boot foot paddle tail swim bait, which is a mainstay. And on Sunday, when Mike and I were fishing, that is exactly what we ended up doing. So we had a lull between the morning traditional low light topwater bite and then the like bright sun full on next feeding period. We had a lull and we were around a lot of shad. So we went to the boot foot swim bait, started catching fish.
Yeah.
And catching fish, good thing.
Yeah. But we didn't, you know, and I think the biggest point with breaking down a body of water and this time of year is here's where the fish were, and here's where some of the fish are going to go on this structure that you have, or this offshore stuff, or where the bait is really balled up. If you don't go and check that stuff, even you know, even though you caught fish there and you kind of established something, you have to go check that other pattern, which is a deeper water pattern, which is, you know, looking for schools of fish on bait. You know, that's more of a summertime pattern. But, you know, we got to check it and see. So, what George and I did is we fished our grass pattern for 3 hours about, and then we went out and we graphed our summertime pattern. And we just wanted to see, number one, if the structure was there, but more importantly, number two, if the bait was there. You know, the bait had to be there, and we side scanned it. George's pretty good at that. He did the zigzag thing across the structure. We probably idled around for 15 or 20 minutes. We established that there was bait there, wasn't really good grass there that would really hold them there, but that, you know, a little later on in the day, if the body of water we're in, which is current, really all about current, we knew once they started running current, we want to get back there and test it and just check it. So then we left that and went to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, just because you decided, for example, to fish a grass on your lake, that doesn't mean it's going to be shoreline. Like, there's a lot of offshore grass. There's a lot of offshore bars and shoals. Deeper covers, humps, lumps. You know, not necessarily that deep either. I mean, we were fishing 7 foot of water to 5 foot of water, just happened to be in the middle of the lake.
Yeah, but if you had like offshore humps, if you had offshore rock piles that you knew of that are really summertime driven stuff, the bars, bars that tail off into 15, 20 foot of water, you got to check that. You got to go check that stuff, and you have to make sure that you're there at the right time. So, if it's a current orientated lake or a current orientated body of water like our place was, we had to hit it when the water was running. So we knew we had to be back there and check it when the water was running.
And you have to know how to use your electronics, and you have to trust them. We were side scanning, so we were able to cover, a 200-foot swath of water and, mark all the grass, all the hard spots, all the bait. And, on a 400-yard long shoal, we were able to narrow it down to when it is time to go back here, we need to fish this 100-yard stretch.
Just to kind of see what the bite is.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to get some feedback. Now if we would have got bit there, then, and what I'm trying to parlay to you is on wherever it is you're at, if you then get bit there and you don't know the water, get your map out and start looking. Now, if you have a nice hummingbird unit, for example,
zoom out and start looking.
With, where you can color your depth ranges, and you're catching your fish on offshore, 5 to 8 foot of water, set that in red or whatever. And all of a sudden, as you scroll around in your map, if it ain't red, don't mess with it. If you don't have the luxury of that, just kind of zoom out and scroll around and look at your contours. But if you can go and find another area and duplicate that, now you're onto something.
So the question,
now you have that confidence.
Yep.
Right.
So what brought this whole conversation up tonight was a question from one of our listeners, and he was also very, very wanted to know, and he was very adamant about it. How long would you stay on that particular piece of water? And that's one of the greatest questions that you would ever be able to answer if you could. How long do you stay in that shallow, get sucked into that shallow pattern? We had a big fish, we had 2 small fish, we had some action, things were going on. We haven't been there in a year. We're in the middle of this tournament. How long do you stay there? It's very, very hard to make that decision. But I will tell you this, if you're just out having a good time, it's a lot easier to move. If you're in a tournament, it's a lot harder to move. And that's where the discipline comes in, and you need to be able to check your stuff and to check it properly. If you're in that situation where it's not a pressured situation, you fish it until you're kind of like, yeah, this is good, but all right, maybe it might take an hour in that situation. George and I didn't have that. We had a big piece of grass bed, so we had to spend a little bit more time. So I think we spent 2 to 3 hours, on our first cycle through there to decide that this was one pattern that would work. And now we all of a sudden in our heads, we start putting together, all right, we need to check this spot. We need to check that spot. We need to check that spot. But first we need to check these offshore stuff. So we had a couple of offshore spots and we had to go check them. And we were literally on that for 20 minutes graphing, went to another grass bed, called out 4 of our fish in our limit, went and fished the grass a little bit more, tried a couple other spots, jumped because we kind of think this is what we got to do. And then it was like there was current moving. We got to go back up there and check it. We went back up there. We got on that hump and we fished that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And decided
15 too long.
We caught one. We had one. We lost a fish. There were some smaller fish blowing up.
It wasn't right. They're not out yet.
And they just not out there. We gave it our gung ho. There was bait fish around. The fish were blowing up on them, but all the fish were small and the catfish were there. So,
my rule of thumb is on when to stay and when to go. Whether I'm fun fishing or tournament fishing, you have to always remind yourself that there's periods during the day when the fish feed, and there's periods during the day when they don't. And if you fish through an area and you caught several nice fish and you start to fish back through that area again and you don't,
Mm.
you know, if you gave it 15 or 20 minutes on your second pass through and nothing's happening, there's no signs of life, you need to leave.
Yeah. Get out of there.
Because my theory is this: if the bite's turned off, I can go somewhere else and investigate another bank or another flat. And at least I'm learning that flat. I mean, if they're not biting, I already know this flat. If
Yeah.
they're not biting, I can do just as good,
Trying to find something else.
but also learn something.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah.
They might be biting there.
Yeah.
Or there might be one active fish there. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, when I get through that pass, now I have two areas that I kind of got dialed in. And then I'll do that again. So my rule of thumb is I don't stick around after I've been through an area catching fish. I don't stick around on my second pass through more than about 15 minutes. If I'm in an area and I haven't caught any fish and it's just not happening, I kind of power my way through it to get a feel for the lay of the land. Again, I'm looking at my map all day long. You know, you might think you know your water, but on that moment, your brain is dialed into something. And when you
Look at your
pull
map.
that map up and you start looking around on that map, all you need to find is one spot that represents what that spot represented. And
that might be the loaded one.
or it could be a future thing. You know, Mike and I fished a couple years ago. We fished Brian's tournaments on the river, and we hadn't been there in years. I mean, we used to fish this place all the time, and we hadn't been there in years. So we decided we probably should go down there and look around in case stuff changed. So we're running along, just kind of bebopping along, you know, like 50 miles an hour. And we have a really good 2D sonar unit on our boat that with a shoot through the hull transducer that is
That thing's awesome.
deadly. I mean, it'll mark a blade of grass
It really
in 20
does.
feet of water at 50 miles an hour.
Really good.
And we're just kind of zipping along, and all of a sudden, we're both, what? Stop the boat, and here's this grass bed that, you know, in our previous life didn't exist.
Yeah.
In this particular offshore. And we went out and found all kinds of offshore grass. I'm talking offshore. And it really fired us up. Well, it wasn't right. But I think
Caught a big catty out of there.
I think the
was
fourth
exciting.
tournament of the year, or the third or fourth tournament of the year, which was a dog day of summer tournament,
Mhm.
guess where they were? Because by that time they had finally moved out.
Yeah.
You know, this particular body of water is a gizzard shad forage base. And by that, they've already spawned twice. This year, they've already spawned twice. You've got gizzard shad that are this big, and you've got the little
Fleckers.
the little pepper flakes.
Yeah.
The little pepper flake gizzard shad that are probably be about this big in a week. So, you know, you're always learning. You never, it's always positive.
Yeah.
If you haven't caught a fish in 4 hours, that's a positive outcome because it's telling you to go do something different. You
Yeah.
know, my dad and I fished tournaments together for decades, and our saying was, let's go do something different, even if it's wrong, because we can't do any worse than we're doing now. And that's always a great thought process. You know, if you're on this whole, you know, again, and we're using this as an example, but shallow flats, with or without grass, we're kind of leaning heavily on the grass, but
Well,
only
that's
because we favor grass. No matter where we go,
yeah.
we always start our day off with grass.
Yeah, and you have to go through the progression that works.
And
for
why
you.
wouldn't you?
Well, you have to go through. You have to go through the progression that works for you. Some guys have a spot that just produces fish for them, and they just want to go check it every time, you know. And that's there's nothing wrong with that, except for remember, every day is a blank slate. You have to draw on the slate every single day. So, you know, if you go to that favorite spot and you don't get bit when you know how it is, your best spot. If you don't get bit in 10 casts, man, they're just not they're not biting, they're not there today, they're not biting, so you need to move. And the big thing about breaking down the water is fish some history to try to develop the pattern, get your bites, try to get some bites, but don't forget to check all of the available structure. If it's a grass, check the grass. If it's a grass and wood, make sure you check the wood. And then if for this time of year, we fished wood for a little bit, never got bit on it, never got bit, fished around it, never seen anything, never had chasers, never had nothing. We went out, we checked for the progression of summer on some of the ledges that are out in the middle of the river that we like to fish. And we figured out what that progression was. We went to some deep water. Here's another progression that George didn't talk about yet. We went to deep water. We found fish in 12 to 18 foot of water, 12 to 20 foot of water that were just out there roaming around, chasing bait. And every now and then you'd see one come up and blow up on a bait fish. And we did the old forward facing things. Fish were chasing his bait all over the freaking place, driving him absolutely crazy. Couldn't get bit. We threw drop shot in there. We threw
the double-edged sword,
all kind of stuff. The fish would come right up to it and then they would nose off. And just like this Wheeler was saying today, if they're going to bite, they're going to bite it. Especially, we were throwing shad baits. And
that's what we did, man. We just left those fish.
We left them.
We were in an area.
There's a lot of them there, and they would not bite.
No matter where you shined, there was just 5 to 10 fish. And anything you threw at one of them,
yeah,
you were like the Pied Piper, man. By the time you got back to the boat, there was 5 of them on it. If you killed it, there was 5 lights going down. If you popped it, there was 5 coming up. And never, ever, ever did you get bit. And we just looked at each other and said,
we changed baits and we did stuff
leave.
and we tried different things. And then I turned around and I picked up a buzz bait, and there was a really nice, grass bed behind us, cause it was a pretty cool area. And I threw a buzz bait in there, and, within 2 casts, I caught a nice keeper. Cast after that, I caught another nice keeper. George was like, well, this, we're done with that shit.
I put all them rods away.
We're done with that shit. But we tried it. You know what I mean? We tried it. We tried to make it work.
Well, you had to.
And if we had, if we had more time, we might have even went. We had another spot like that where we could have went and tried some live scoping on some offshore smallies. They were eating these little baits, and they're hard to really catch those fish. At least for us, we don't have the techniques or something. Those fish were on these little bitty shad, and they're just hard. I don't know what I admit it. I don't know what to do when those suckers are eating those little things. They piss you off more than anything. So we moved on, and we moved on to something else. And but we gave that a good 30 minutes until we made the decision to get off that. And this is how you break it down. This is how you break your day down. This is, make sure you're covering the pieces of cover and the body of water that and you fish. Make sure you cover it all in one day so that you don't miss anything. It may only be, hey, we got to run down, check his spot, 10 minutes. You run over there, 10 minutes, boom, 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 boom. Nothing's there. You come back into come back to what you were doing, maybe at another area, and get back into there and check that. But you're always, in your mind, you're always making that movement. You're always making that call. You don't want to be, I've seen guys, man. I've seen guys fishing, shallow. I've seen them. They were there for a long time, man, back and forth and back and forth. And they didn't get bit. Or if they got bit, they came in with, just a couple of fish. It wasn't to bite. You just can't die. I hear this all the time. I had this spot in practice. I went to it. I stayed there 8 hours, and they never bit. I mean, come on. Come on. That is the worst statement that anybody could ever make. And there's a lot of us that gone through that. I'm going to sit on this spot till they turn on. It is so bad to do that. If they don't bite in the morning there, you go somewhere else. But guess what? I'm going to be back there 3 hours later. If it's a really one of them spots that the fish should be there.
And for what you're talking about, Mike, that's why I love what you guys are saying, because if you're going to a new body of water, it's so critical. Like I was just at the St. Lawrence
Right.
and the Ontario.
Right.
You got such a vast amount of water that you can choose from. You can't possibly cover that whole river and the lake. If
Yeah.
you're driving up and down, you're already done.
Yeah.
You pick a part that you want to spend time on.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is I like to drive around and see what options I have in that area.
Great idea.
Because what a lot of people do is they get so excited they're going to fish a new place. What do? They go to a bank, they drop their trolling motor, and they fish for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You just wasted 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I didn't catch anything.
Yeah.
First thing you need to do is go see what you have to offer.
Yeah.
Find the obvious things first.
Yeah.
If it's a point, if it's shoals, if it's whatever, use your senses. You know what I mean?
Then go back and fish them.
Yeah, because if you see other people fishing too, oh, they're fishing shoals. I just seen that guy boat a fish. Keep that in your bank. Oh, I just caught one. Okay, now you can use that pattern and kind of move around and do that.
Yeah.
But, that's what I do. I don't just go and fish a bank. You got to go and you got to pick apart. Okay, this area has some shoals. On those shoals in that 8 to 10 foot of range, there's some grass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's some rock.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little bit of bites where the rock and the grass are both at.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I duplicate that? That's right. I found 3 other spots like that.
Yeah.
And
I
now
saw
you
that
can
over
boom,
here.
boom,
I saw
boom.
that over there.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
And that I know.
Well, you got to, you got to be able to take that body of water and fish it. That's what you really got to do. You got to be able to fish the whole body of water. Now, like Nick was up on Lake Ontario. You're not going to fish the whole Lake Ontario. But what was cool was you took the piece of water that you were in, and you said, okay, I'm going to fish from here to here, which is manageable. Right.
Right.
And then you dealt with that.
I did. And then once we got confidence, which is like George said, so key.
Got to get bites.
Now, all of a sudden, you got the confidence to go other areas within that area to get bites. Like towards the end of the day, it's like, hey, let's go to this point because guess what the wind's doing? Blowing right into it.
Yeah.
Now you got the confidence to go do that. Next thing you know, hey, there's 23 pounds of bass.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Because you got the confidence to do
And
that.
you saw that point when you were running around,
Yep.
kind of keeping it in your mind.
Keep it in your mind, but
and you weren't afraid to try it.
you weren't afraid to try it.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
got to do that. But I do see a lot of times people go to new bodies of water and they don't do their pre-map study, which I know George and yourself
Mhm.
are big on.
Mm-hmm.
See what's available in that area and then see what's on it.
Yeah.
And at least your high percentage spots that's
Yeah.
going to get you confidence. And then you go from there, really.
Yeah, and you got to know the time of year that you're in, and you got to know the migration of fish and what how fish move, and it's all knowledge to have. And here on Tackle Shop Live, we talked about this for the last several months. Is we went through the winter, we went into the early spring, we went into the spring, we went into spawn, and now we're just getting into the post spawn and early summer bite, and we're talking about the migration of fish, the movement of fish, and what they're doing, and you can put that together to help you going from, well, they were spawning over here, and then this lake has this, it has shoals, it has lumps, it has humps for my map study, and now I can just bounce around to all 3 of those structures this time of year because you have to, and see which one is the one to do.
Right.
And it'll really, really help you.
That question that you asked was interesting about when to leave.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about where am I fishing?
Mhm.
Because I found up in New York, whether it's Champlain, whether it's Cayuga or the St. Lawrence, you can get on a spot where you're cranking on them. But next thing you know, you find out they're all 3-pounders. They're all 3.5s. If you're in a tournament, you got to make that decision to, hey, this is fun.
Yeah.
Well, we got to go after some bigger fish. I've learned the hard way on that a few times where it's like, man, you had such a good day, but you come in, it's like, oh, we really should have left those fish and went and found fish. But if I'm at the local lake, you don't have that problem because you're just trying to find what you can.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with those areas, what I find is you catch one or two off a spot, but guess what? Keep that feather in your cap because later, if you come back to that spot, a lot of times there's a fish there again waiting.
Sure.
You know, it replenishes a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the other thing, making your rotation through your stuff. And, you know, just because you leave a spot doesn't mean you can't come back. So, I mean, you can go, you can leave. And guess what? You can come back. It's okay. It's not the end of the freaking world. Don't die on a spot, man. Just don't die on it. You know, just move, check it out, learn the water. You know the time of the year. Check all the different patterns, and then pattern fish. You know, fish that pattern for the day, and duplicate it. The thing that George said about the graphs, a lot of these graphs have this option where you can set your depth colors. You know, we were shown that several years ago. Greg DePalma showed me. I don't know about George. He probably knew about it a long time ago, but Greg DePalma showed me his how he does it, and he had a graph here, and it was I think he used the graph in a Tackle Shop Live type thing, and he brought that thing out, and he started messing with those colors and that shading, and it was like the whole lake just went. You know, once I figured out what the pattern was, which took me a couple hours, you know, then I set my depth ranges up to that, and it was all red. And he said, now I could just go around and where I was catching them, I could look in that red areas and see where that was kind of duplicated. And then I could just jump. And all of a sudden I found 7 other spots that I could go jump around in. And guess what? All 7 of them didn't work, but 3 of them did. You know, and he said that's how we do it. You know,
Well, I don't know what most people use, but I know Greg uses Lake Master.
Yeah.
I think you guys do too. That is very accurate. When you go to a lot of these fisheries, I mean, you can really
the
dial it
mapping.
down.
What do they do? Remember that time up in Oneida when we were up there?
We use Navionics.
Yeah. What was that guy? They were just run back and forth on that lake, and it's freaking accurate.
They were surveying the lake.
Yeah.
That was a Garmin. That was a fleet of Garmin boats, and they were dragging their big recording, their transducers that they tow behind them, and they were surveying the lake. And just
every 50 yards,
it was like cutting the grass.
It was unbelievable. The whole lake up, that was like Oneida. And then
the other aspect you have on your graphs that's helpful in breaking down your first day on a new body of water that you've got a little something figured out. You can also have basically a satellite overlay of actual images. Like if you're catching them on boat docks in the backs of coves, you can see the boat docks in the backs of the coves.
Yeah.
And go, okay, I'm going to go here, 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 and here, and see if that works for what you're doing, you know, that day. Again, you know, we're focused a lot on shallower water this time of the year, and we always focus on shallower water our first day of breaking down a body of water. That's just our system.
Yeah,
we spend our first day focusing on shallow water. If it's a fishery that offers an offshore bite, we spend our second day focusing on the offshore bite that we may or may not have checked thoroughly the first day in a couple of areas to give us a glimmer of hope. The other thing I want to say about when to stay, when to go, what to look for, and it's not in any particular order, but it's really important. The size of the bait fish. So I've noticed in many scenarios on many different bodies of water, the size of the bait fish. So let's talk about a gizzard shad body of water, you know, this time of the year. Now, you know, the body of water that Mike and I fished on the Susquehanna River already had 2 shad spawns. We had some shad that were about that big,
Yep.
and we had some shad that were like fry. This is what they're eating. The bigger fish. The bigger fish ain't screwing with this. They're eating this. So again, eliminate water. Oh man, this place is covered with bait. Beautiful grass, beautiful watercolor. Well, the only problem is it's all fry. You know, we found it once a few years ago in a tournament where one side of the area we were fishing had like the first spawn of shad that were like this big. And the other side, way over there, where we tried to duplicate what we found, was covered in fry from like the third spawn of shad for the year.
Mhm.
Those fish wanted nothing to do with that, and they were stacked on these bigger shad. So,
Yeah.
you know, that scenario has played out for me
Many times.
over and over and over again. Tidal water fisheries that have migrating white perch. Pay attention to the white perch fry,
Mhm.
especially when they get to be about that big.
Well, look at that tournament up in Sinclair. You know how
5-inch perch.
how critical it was to know what they were eating and looking for that type of bait. That's what that guy did. He looked around. He discussed this is why I'm catching these fish, because there was a lot of this bait around. He probably established that in practice with that camera because he couldn't cast.
Well, and if you want to feel lost and helpless and hopeless, go to a place like Sinclair. Go to Lake Erie.
Yeah.
Go out in the middle of like gargantuan offshore cover on Champlain.
Yeah.
And if you think you're having a bad day not catching any fish and you got
Yeah.
a big tournament coming up,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just going to go into a state of like, you're going to curl up on the front deck of your boat in the fetal position, sucking your thumb, begging for somebody to come help you
Yeah.
because you're lost.
That's
You're freaking lost.
it
You're a
is.
speck. You're a speck on a massive flat of water.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
He broke all that water out by finding that they were eating 5-inch perch.
Yeah.
Not 3-inch perch, not
Not
mayflies,
not mayflies, not little bitty minnows.
emerald shiners.
Yeah.
They didn't want nothing to do with none of that. The big boys were having the Big Mac.
Yep.
Everybody else
Yep.
was having the frickin'
Kids
the
meal.
cheeseburger meal.
Kids meal.
Whatever they call that cheeseburger meal.
Chicken
they were
nuggets.
having that.
Chicken nuggets.
And them big boys were on the Big Mac.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
Have it your way.
Nick kind of hit it on the head a little bit ago when you said, Nick, use your senses, you know, all around you when you're fishing. You know, you're fishing, you know, you're listening, like George said, you're listening for the bait, you're looking for the blow ups, you're looking for the bait swimming around, you're looking in the schools and seeing schools of bait fish. I can't tell you how many times the senses put you on what was going on. You know, you're visualizing things, you're seeing things, you're
Hearing bluegill popping and flicking underneath a mat of grass.
you know, you just you're looking for that life.
You're in
looking,
this gargantuan,
and then here's the
mat.
thing. Here's the thing for a lot of you guys.
and there's one area where they're like flicking and popping, and
Yeah, but here's one
that's
thing.
all the life.
Here's one thing for you guys. When you do catch a fish, okay, this is when your senses need to be most jacked up. You need to kind of look around and put the pieces together on that fish. And then go a little bit, catch a second fish, and then look around and put the pieces together on that fish. I'm telling you right now, George and I were fishing, and we caught this fish first thing in the morning. Then we went about 10 minutes, and then we caught the second fish. And I instantly looked at him and I said, "Do you see just what happened here?" And he's like, "What?" And I said, "Look how far out this fish is, and look where we caught the other one way up there. It's right in line." And we made another turn and we fished a little bit and caught a third fish. And it was almost, I'm telling you, almost legitimately in line. This far off the bank, this far away from the drop, you know. And that right away, it started to put a pattern together. You know, the thing started to, it wasn't the right pattern, but you know, that's the way you got to think. We catching fish, but what it wasn't the right pattern. So we kept trying to keep going but you know, that's how you think. That's how you got to think. catch a fish, your senses. Looking around, your senses.
Well, another thing too is like if you have clear water, we got up there and I started throwing a swim bait. Next thing you know, I got a 3-pounder. First cast, I got a 3-pounder following the bait, but won't take it. Okay. Throw it back out. Another fish following the bait. Something's wrong. You know, your senses got to tell you, you got to look at that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you change color. Next thing you know, you catch it. It's those adjustments.
Yeah.
You know, you got to, you've always said it.
Yeah.
You know, use your senses.
I say fish with your gut.
Yep.
And that's really something that helps you break down bodies of water. You can't be afraid to try something new and just have a thought in your mind. You know, my whole process for the weekend was started in here on Thursday. I was thinking about things. I was thinking about all this stuff, and I picked up a couple of baits, and I had one in particular that I was really kind of jacked up on, you know, just because of the time of the year, the history of the body of water, the history of that type of bite with this type of year and a type of fry and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, and just went with that kind of stuff, and then started out and it, you know, turned out to be the right bait. And, you know, for us, because we didn't have anything else, you know, but we broke through it all, and you got to work through it all, and you work your body of water. And what's funny is you might be catching fish this size here, and you go out to that ledge that George and I fish. It's a ledge from 7 to 10 feet. It's a summertime ledge. And you go out there and you fish that ledge. All of a sudden you're catching 3-pounders, 3.5-pounders. And now you're in contention to win a tournament. You know, it makes up that deficit. For us, they weren't there that day. So we had to keep moving. We kept going through the progression. You keep going through your progression, keep looking, even if you're fun fishing, if you want to do the best you can, fun fishing, and catch the biggest fish, don't be okay with 12 inches on the bank. You know what I'm saying? Don't be okay with that. Go look for something else. Go to that deeper grass line. Go to that rock pile that you heard about, or go try to find it. You know, try all that stuff. Right, George?
Well, and pay attention to stuff that's right in front of you. Wind.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the wind. You know, the wind will push water. The wind creates current. The wind breaks up the surface. You know, most people, fishermen, given the option, will get out of the wind. Oh, we had to go to the other side of the lake to get out of that damn wind. Great. I'm so happy that you did. You know, I'm going to go into the wind, and I want to get where the wind is blowing around a point, blowing around a seawall, blowing around the tip of an island. You know, I like it to the point where it's physically not able to fish anymore. Like when the trolling motor is constantly coming out of the water and it goes down and the water comes over the front of the boat every time. I'm out. That sucks. Unless we're catching big fish. But right up to that point, that wind will stimulate a bite. It'll turn on turned off fish.
Yeah.
And what does it do, guys? It eliminates water.
It positions fish.
We are chasing wind. We are staying away from calm. That eliminates that. So, you know, big on the wind. Within reason. I mean, I don't want to see people spearing waves and trashing their boat to go fish some wind somewhere because we're talking about it here. I mean, there's such thing as too much wind.
Yeah.
But all fish relate to the wind. All fish relate to the wind. We were striper fishing the other day. This wind was blowing water around the tip of this island, and you could see it. It was just coming around the tip of the island, swirling just like a ripping tide.
Yeah,
we had 4 guys on the boat. We were hooking 4 at a time. So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know, always pay attention to the wind in your season, like your breakdown of the lake.
Yep.
And guess what?
Could get
the
lucky.
Next day, the wind might blow the other way. And guess what else? If you're on a lake like we were fishing, that's a gizzard shad lake, and the wind blows for 2 or 3 days from the east, guess where all those shad will be? On the west.
Mm-hmm.
Because they ride the currents feeding on plankton. The plankton ride the currents.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever the currents go, In other words, if you get a 3-day big wind and you got your weekend coming up and you're like, ain't this just the greatest, freaking wind blowing? This sucks. No. In the words of the great coach Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. This is a good thing, a good problem.
Yeah.
We now have eliminated the east side of the lake as a starting point. We want to go where the wind pushed all the bait. Because guess what went with the bait? The fish. And then guess what? If it was a 3-day big blow, there's going to be a lot of really dirty water. We just eliminated a lot of that side of the lake. And
not so much that the fish followed them all the way over there, but the fish that are over there will fire up and be more aggressive because the bait fish showed up.
Well, don't be surprised if they didn't follow them over there.
Well,
too.
I mean, they're not going to go across 10 miles of water to go over there, and
maybe not 10 miles, but
yeah.
they'll go across 3 miles of water.
But that's that's the whole idea is that wind, play with that wind factor. So I hope the whole idea of this was from one of the listeners, and I hope that helps you out with breaking down a body of water. And I hope it helps you out with your second part of the question, which was how long do you stay on a spot before you move? So I hope that we broke that down for you the best the three of us can. So those suggestions do get played. Last 2 weeks ago, I think was one that was a suggestion that we did a show, Nick. And then this week was a suggestion from a listener, and we have another one on tackle organization. If we can work that one out and figure out that next one, we're going to try to do it out, tow the boat in and do it outside. I don't know what kind of reception we can get out there, but we can definitely do some testing out there, Nick. Maybe we'll go live. Caitlin and I'll go live and just check out our signal and stuff like that, and do a breakdown of something outside.
It'll work.
But, we might do something like that, or we might have the studio set up in here, go out there and do a little bit of it and come in and start another part of the show to try to get YouTubers in.
Hey, George, are you going to let Mike do the boat or?
Yeah.
Hey, you ought to see his boat. I was really proud of myself, man. I had a pile of shit in his boat.
Dude.
He was shaking his head all day long. What the hell's the matter with you? Can't you put that away? I mean, I got to keep fishing, dude.
I don't even want to go there.
I said, what I said to him? We'll clean it up at the end of the day at my house. And I knew that was.
We should have like a before and after, like before the tournament where everything's all nice and neat, and then after the tournament where it's like a train wreck.
I tell you,
it was a train wreck.
We cycled through some stuff. We tried and had, that gut feeling thing. We did it all, man. We tried it all. We had gut feelings about 27 times during the day. So
I think we retied like 40 times.
Yeah.
But we caught a lot of fish.
Yeah. And then we were like, oh, you got to go Carolina rigging. So he had to sit down and he said, you keep fishing. I'll tie two. He tied 2 Carolina rigs up, got everything all ready.
No rods rigged.
We were in between different trips and stuff that we cut everything off. But now those rigs are rigged up on the rods and they'll never come off for the whole year, rest of the year. They're on there now.
All right, boys.
Yep. We're going to get this thing rolling. Thank you so much. Don't forget, starting tomorrow in the shop is our July 4th special sale with some crazy blowouts in the store here. You got to be in the short store for those. And then for you guys that can't get there, we got some great specials. We got 15% off on almost everything on the website. There's a few restrictions. So we're going to take care of you guys with that. And you will at least have a shot at that. But until next time, we will catch you at the next Tackle Shop Live.
Yeah.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy